For the second half, the last three problems, we're going to end up having to write some equations for 2 and then solve an equation for the last one. So let's take a look at this first one here. It asks us to write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form, passes through a point, and has a slope of, and then it gives us negative 1/3. So we'll go ahead and start with our point-slope formula. It goes this way: y minus y1 equals m, which is the slope, times by x minus x1. So we're going to take the point that we're given. So the point is right here. This is our slope, negative 1/3. I'm going to put that in for m. So I'll take care of that. X is the first number in the ordered pair, negative 3, and that goes last in our point-slope formula. Y is the second number in the ordered pair, and it's the first number we'll write in our formula. So once I've done that, go ahead and rewrite the formula with those numbers substituted. It goes this way: y minus 8 equals the slope, negative 1/3, multiplied by x minus negative 3. So from that point, we can now distribute that negative 1/3. But before I do that, actually, I'm going to go ahead and change this subtraction to adding the opposite. And then I'll distribute that negative 1/3 over the sum. So I've got a y minus 8 equaling negative 1/3 x. And then this is going to be a negative 1. So let's see how that's the case. Negative 1/3 times by 3 over 1. Well, you see the 3 goes into 3 one time. I multiply across. Negative 1 times 1 makes minus 1. So from that point, we can do another opposite operation. That's a minus 8 there, so I'm going to add 8 to both sides. And whenever I do that, I've got opposite signs there, which would force me to subtract. So what do I have left? I've got y equals negative 1/3 x plus 7. And that would be our answer. So the next problem you're going to deal with uses that same formula, but we're going to end up having to do something first. You see, in this problem, write an equation in slope-intercept form that contains the points. And then it has 2 points. What's missing? The slope is missing. And that's what we're going to use the 2 points to do. So we first need to find the slope of the line. So we're going to use that y minus y1 over x minus x1 formula. So when we do that substitution, we're going to take our two y values. Remember, y's are the last numbers. So there's a y, and 10's also a y. So it goes negative 2, so this equals negative 2 minus 10. So that's on top of the fraction. What's on the bottom? Well, we've got the x values. Since I started with that negative 2, I'm going to start with this 1. And then I need to write the next number, which is 3. So minus 3. So we can go ahead and do that subtraction. Again, add the opposite where you need to. That makes negative 12 over negative 2. And that would reduce down to a positive 6. So the two negatives cancel out. Well, from that point, we can go ahead and rewrite our point-slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we can substitute the numbers into that formula. So we can substitute 6 definitely in for m, but which point should we use? Well, you know, it really doesn't matter. You could use either point and get the same answer. I'm going to choose to use the first one, 1 for x1 and negative 2 for y1. So I'm going to write those numbers in there. Y minus negative 2 equals 6 multiplied by x minus 1. So again, anytime you see a minus negative, always change that right away to plus positive. So we go ahead and rewrite what we've got. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and distribute this 6 over the x and the 1. Now I'll rewrite what we have. And what that would be y plus 2 equals 6x minus 6. So one final step here, and that is to isolate the y. And we do that by doing an opposite operation. So that's a plus 2 here, so we need to minus 2. And when we have the same sign, that means we're going to end up having to add those two numbers. So our final answer is going to be y equals 6x minus 8. And that would be our answer. Well, those are writing some equations. The last problem is a review from the last test we had of this format. And that is when we had two different companies. So we had Owen's company here. And they're asking us, Owen's company charges a certain amount. Ted's company charges a different amount. How much until the two companies charge the same? Same means equal. And so we're going to set Owen's company equal to Ted's company. And then we'll know when they will charge the same. So we need to write an equation for both people, both companies. And so $350 plus $15 per hour. So per hour tells us we need to know how many hours and then multiply by 15 and then charge $350. But we don't know how many hours. That's what they're asking. That's the question. So that tells us that we need to use an unknown for that. And I'll use h in this case. So the formula would go this way. 350 plus 15h equals, now Ted, he charges $299. So that's a constant amount. He's always going to charge, but then he adds on an hourly fee, which is $18 per hour. Per hour, we don't know how many hours, so we're going to multiply by that same variable h, because we want to find out when they'll charge the same. So from that point, we can just go ahead and isolate the h. So I'm going to move the h's over to the right-hand side. So I need to subtract that 15h from both sides. I can also move this constant term over as well. So I'll subtract that $299 from both sides and see what's left. What I have is a 51. So make sure you borrow correctly. I got to borrow all the way back from the 3, change that to a 2. The 15 changes to 14, and I end up with 51 when I do the subtraction. And that all equals 3h. So from that point, I can divide by 3, and we'll have the answer. Well, when you do that division, 3 goes into 5 one time. Do some subtraction there. I get 2 left over. 3 goes into 21 7 times. So 17 is the number of hours it's going to be until they charge the same. Well, that's the first part. That's part A. But now we got to find part B. Part B asks, how much will they charge? Well, we just go back to either Ted's charge or Owen's charge. Either one, because they're both going to be the same. So I'll go ahead and use Owen's charge. His charge is $350 plus 15 multiplied by, and then we're going to put in 17 because that's when they'll charge the same. So when we go ahead and do the multiplication of 15 times by 17, we end up with 255. And then we'll add 350 to the other side, or to that 255 eventually. And so when we go ahead and add those two numbers together, that gives us $605. That would be the amount that Owen and Ted will charge after 17 hours. Well, those are the test problems this week. Good luck.